Alright, what is going on, guys? Back at it again to make another video here. I just wanted to go a bit in depth with PikaOS and why I really enjoy it, and why it's my distro of choice over something like CachyOS or Nobara. So, if you look here, we got the main web page. So, what is PikaOS? You know, PikaOS is a Debian SID based distro. It's based on Debian's unstable branch. It's optimized for gaming, content creation, and yeah, that's what it's for. It's a gaming distro. It's a distro for gamers who want to use Linux, but not, it's aimed at being optimized for gaming and user friendly. That's its two goals. They got features like the NVIDIA DLSS switcher, which you can't find on any other distribution out of the box. It's something developed in-house. It's basically a script that allows you to easily switch DLSS versions on your games, so that way you can enjoy the latest DLSS 4 on whatever game, as long as it supports DLSS, which is honestly a groundbreaking feature for Linux. They've got the PikaOS kernel manager, which I'll show you here in a moment, which is they actually don't have an entry here. Their website's really bare bones. They actually need wiki contributors, which I personally have volunteered to help contribute to the wiki, but they said as of yet they're not moving forward. Basically, I got told that they will soon be putting out a call for wiki contributors. So maybe if I'm lucky, I'll be contributing to the PikaOS wiki here soon. We'll see. But yeah, they're missing some stuff here and missing some core features. Some of it's outdated information, like the PikaOS driver manager's defunct now. They replaced it with the PikaOS device manager, which I'll also go into. These are things that PikaOS has that no other distribution has out of the box, because these applications were written by the guy who founded the distro. You may recognize the PikaOS driver manager if you've seen it here. Let's see if they got a picture of it. Oh, no, to do. So it's, if you've used Nobara, if you've seen Nobara's driver manager, it is the exact thing. And that's because Cosmo, the guy who founded this distro, created that application and ported it to Nobara. He was a Nobara contributor. And PikaOS actually came to be because Cosmo was trying to help out GE with Nobara, because he was having some patent issues. And basically they actually talk about they were the two main developers of PikaOS were actually on Brody's Tech Over Tea podcast pretty recently. They also very recently got added to DistroWatch, finally, after 2 years. So that's kind of a big thing. I've got their tab over here on that, but yeah. So they talked about the origins of PikaOS a bit more there. I'm a little fuzzy on all the details, so I don't want to give out the wrong information. You can go there. I'll leave a link in the description to that podcast. But yeah, so they basically PikaOS was born kind of. They basically already had the groundwork laid for a situation that was going on with Nobara, and Cosmo was just like, oh well, what do I do with this, and him and Ferrero kind of took it from there and ended up turning it into its own full-blown distribution. And a lot of people who do know about PikaOS like to kind of besmirch its good name. I don't want to say besmirch because Nobara is a good distro, but you know, they kind of dismiss it as a Ubuntu spin of Nobara, which is, well, completely inaccurate now, but was inaccurate then, when that information was more accurate. It is not a Debian spin of Nobara. There are some Nobara tweaks that are carried over because the two distros do synergize a lot. PikaOS has its own channel on Nobara's, on GE's Nobara/GE Discord. So PikaOS has its own channel there. They also are on good terms and kind of synergize somewhat with CachyOS. So there's a lot of stuff that goes back and forth there. And that's ultimately a good thing. You know, PikaOS, we are running, let's see, why did I actually click that? Alright. We are running kernel 6.14.6-PikaOS, which is basically, PikaOS has its, I don't want to say it has its own kernel, because it's really, I mean, it technically is. It is their own kernel, technically speaking. That's why it's called PikaOS. They basically take the CachyOS kernel and apply a couple of extra custom patches to it. But largely, it's the CachyOS kernel. They pretty much backport the CachyOS kernel, apply a couple patches, and change the name, and that's pretty much what it is. It's the CachyOS Arch kernel. It is very fast, very optimized, as most Linux enthusiasts know. So, we've got a very up-to-date kernel here, 6.14.6. They've been cranking them out like clockwork. Pretty much, Cachy updates their kernel, and PikaOS updates very quickly after that. So we've got that. They use Q3 and LTO and AVX2 for package optimizations. They've got all kinds of stuff going on. This is not your grandma's Debian distro, okay? It's not fucking Linux Mint. It's not, it is a robust, up-to-date, optimized Debian distribution. There's really no other. PikaOS is kind of unique in certain ways, and mostly in the fact that there is no other Debian distro on the planet doing what PikaOS is doing. The gaming distro space is rife with Arch distros and Fedora distros. PikaOS is the only Debian-based gaming distro out there that's like worth mentioning, or maybe at all. I don't know. I don't know of any other ones, but there might be some out there. Maybe. But there's none out there that are cutting edge like PikaOS is, for sure. Like, there's none out there that can, keep up with Nobara or CachyOS like PikaOS does. PikaOS is an amazing distro. Point blank. I've used several at this point. And I choose to use PikaOS over others because it is the best suited to my needs, and it is the best out-of-the-box experience I've ever had on Linux. Everything from the install to, setup is just seamless and quick. They have their own custom installer. They don't use Calamares or, some other crap. They actually, like, the Cosmo actually built. Maybe Ferrero helped out. I don't know. I'm assuming it was mostly Cosmo. I think it was Cosmo because Ferrero always tags Cosmo anytime installer stuff is mentioned. But yeah, they built their own installer. It's fast. It's like lightning fast. Like, it actually makes fucking CachyOS look like. It makes CachyOS's Calamares installer look like dog shit in comparison, like, because it is just so quick. Like, I'm talking, you boot up and you accept the terms or whatever, which is basically just you agreeing that, they don't owe you support, and very not like end user really. Like it's kind of set up in the style of an end user license agreement, but it's not. It's really just like 8 bulletins where they're just like, yeah, this is not a product you pay for, so you know, we don't owe you shit, and you know, just basic stuff like that. And it's cool, you know, it installs really fast. Like I'm talking, from the time you click install till finished, it's probably 30 seconds for me. I've seen, you know, Ferrero and some others comment that like they can install the distro, like the installation process takes 10 seconds. I don't know, maybe it's just my SSDs are slower or something else going on there, but yeah, but it installs really quickly. Like in comparison to PikaOS, which takes like a full 10 minutes to install, it's crazy how fast it is. And like I said, I've used other, you know, I've used PikaOS, I've used Nobara, I've used Bazite, you know, so that right there has given me like a nice little range of installers, and they all install much more slowly than PikaOS does. Not to say that any of them take like a horrendously long time to install, but it's kind of crazy how lightning quick it is. It's just bam, you're there. And yeah, so the FalconD automatic game mode, you know, let's see, I do believe that they have that, at least have a wiki page for that. And you know, that kind of this basically just talks about it's a advanced Linux gaming performance daemon. It's basically a utility that runs in the background anytime a Proton game is played. It automatically switches you to a performance profile and then switches you back when the game is exited. And it has the ability for you to set up performance profiles per game. And it also has the ability to set up specific CPU schedulers if you want to change up the CPU scheduler for specific games. So it's pretty damn good, and it's not something you have to put in a launch command to run. It's always there waiting for a game to run, and it kicks in. So you never have to worry about running launch commands. You know, game mode run in every Steam game you install. You know, it's there and it's automatic, and it just adds to that out of the box experience where you don't have to fiddle with shit to get, you know, game mode running on whatever game. It's automatically running. It's a part of the system. So you know, that's something I appreciate. Then you know, we were talking about the kernel, kernel manager. Now the PikaOS kernel manager is another GUI utility created by Cosmo that allows you to download and install different kernels. So, you know, we can go all the way back to kernel 6.1, 6.10, you know, and it goes all the way up, I believe, to the latest build of 6.15. So, yeah, you know, 6.14.6 is the current latest stable kernel. Anything past that is unstable. And yeah, so we've got 2 kernels installed currently, 6.14.6 and 6.14.5. And the 0.5 is basically there as a fallback boot option. And then when you boot into Refined, you can select which kernel version you want to boot into. So I've got Refined hidden, so but yeah, you can do that. Another feature of this is you can change your CPU scheduler. Like you can switch out to a different CPU scheduler, like for your just general system. So there's also that it does, and that's, you know, don't have to mess around with command line. You got an app that just lets you do it. And then what else do we have? And this is stuff you don't have anywhere else. Like this is features baked into PikaOS that are not available on any other distribution. Like Nobara has the defunct now defunct PikaOS. Nobara has their own version of the now defunct driver manager, but they completely neuter what its capabilities are and what makes it great. It does give you the one-click install capability of different driver versions, and they keep a couple of drivers on hand sometimes, but they don't give you the range of choice. With PikaOS, you got the PikaOS device manager now, which is the current, and the crazy thing about the PikaOS device manager is basically they did away with the driver manager and they've now incorporated it into the new device manager they created. And the device manager allows you to, basically look at all your it's not going to let me back out. Oh, there we go. Basically, it lets you look at all your devices, and it lets you enable drivers, disable drivers, update drivers if available, stuff like that. Like, wireless controllers. We got the Intel Core AX1211 Bluetooth. Other system peripherals. I'm trying to find human interface devices. So we got, now I could disable this is like the driver, this is for my mouse here. It shows I could disable the mouse driver if I wanted to. My SteelSeries headset here that I'm talking to on and listening on and all that. I could do all that stuff. And that's kind of cool because, if you have a problematic device or something, you can disable the driver for it so it doesn't cause problems anymore. Like if you had a faulty Wi-Fi card that was causing some kind of random issue, you could just disable the driver for it and it just would be essentially disabled, which is a nice feature. And then of course, you've got your VGA compatible devices, which is going to be your graphics card. Then you can come in here and, well, what do we have? I don't have the icons because my icon pack is messing with it for some reason, and would normally have an NVIDIA logo. And this allows you to manage your drivers, including your Mesa. You can update to the latest stable version of Mesa, or you can switch over to the latest Git version. And in the case of an NVIDIA user such as myself, it allows you to do one-click installs of NVIDIA drivers. And the great thing is they give you a wide range of choices. They don't remove drivers from their repos. They've got drivers all the way back to 550, and you can one-click install, swap out, roll back. Doesn't matter. The new beta driver comes out and gives you problems. You want to roll back to the latest stable. If I wanted to roll back to 565.77, I could. Yeah, I'm currently running the latest 575 beta driver, but when the new driver comes out, they'll add it to the repo, and I can just, and they're really quick about it too. Like they will literally push driver. They'll test out, Ferrero will test the driver just a little bit, and they have drivers same day 99% of the time. So and that's an awesome thing to have. And that was a big thing too, because Nobara and when the 570 beta driver came out and it got pushed to Nobara and Bazite and stuff, it had a major problem with HDMI. It basically broke HDMI 2.1. It basically broke VRR via HDMI on NVIDIA cards, and the recourse for Nobara was basically, well, you're stuck with the driver unless you want to try to manually install the driver. But because of how unique Nobara is, unless you know exactly what you're doing, you're going to break your system. So, you were basically stuck on it. Then on Bazite, the only recourse was to roll back your entire OS version, because it's atomic, to the version running the 565 driver, and then not update for a full month and a half until the 570 stable driver came out that fixed it. So, On PikaOS, it wasn't a problem. The 570 driver came out, it had the issue. Well, you can just stay on 565, continue updating your system as normal, and you just wait. If you updated the driver, found out about the problem, you could just roll back very easily. One click, boom, you're back on the 565, and you don't have to worry about it. It's this kind of stuff here that really makes it nice for somebody like me. Now, as you can see too, I'm sure some of you have noticed if you're here watching this video after you've seen my other videos, I'm using KDE now. I ran into an issue with GNOME and VRR, and I kind of I figured out, and it seems that the issue that drove me to GNOME in the first place has been resolved on KDE. So I don't want to. Why did I do adaptive sync? That's not what I was wanting to do. So I'm back on KDE. Yeah, there we go. I like transparency. I make a lot of my windows translucent. Only windows I don't make translucent are like certain ones like web browsers and notepads, stuff like that. Pretty much everything else I make transparent. I'm still kind of trying to figure out how to do window blur on KDE. It's been a pain in the ass. I've heard use Cavantum and stuff, and I don't know. I've been having a rough time getting Cavantum figured out and how to implement it and all that. That is one thing. KDE racing is more complicated. There's a little bit more you can do, but it's more complicated. On GNOME with extensions and stuff, it's a lot simpler. But yeah, so that's really the major thing. It's not that you can't have a great experience on other distros. Like I said, I really like CachyOS. I really like Nobara. My biggest gripe with Nobara is that they really need to fix their updater. Their updater is just, every time you update on Nobara, it's like, cock and ball torture, because the updater just takes forever to do what it does, and then sometimes it has issues. It's just prone to problems, and it's really slow. And part of that's because of DNF and stuff, and it's just not the greatest, but Nobara's updater's just not great. And I also don't like the little quirks about Nobara that make it so you can't, you can't have Discover, you can't have GNOME software. Well, you can have GNOME software, but you can't have Discover. Just stuff like that. Basically you end up getting stuck trying to use Nobara's built-in package manager to install Flatpaks, and it's a nuisance. Obviously you can use Terminal too, but I have been on this journey for a little while now, and PikaOS it's just home for me. I've tried other distros and I've gone to other distros, and PikaOS has by far been the most solid experience. And the devs have been super awesome. They put up with me and all my questions pretty well, which most distro maintainers don't. They just kind of tell you to figure it the fuck out, So it's been a great experience, and oh, well, that leads me into what else I wanted to talk about. So we are on DistroWatch now, which is awesome, because I've recommended PikaOS to people in the past, and they've been like, well, it's not on DistroWatch. So the devs actually have kind of a low opinion of DistroWatch for reasons that I'm not fully aware of. Apparently there was some comments made on Brody's podcast about DistroWatch, and then magically the next day PikaOS was on DistroWatch, which is fucking hilarious. Basically they threw some shade at DistroWatch because DistroWatch hasn't put them on, you know what I mean? PikaOS has been around for a couple years. It's it's not like, and while it is a lesser known distro for sure, it's not like it's just some no-name upstart that just started. people in the Linux community have heard of it. Like, I don't understand why it took them this long to put PikaOS on the site, but they did. And they have inaccurate information, of course. They say that the release date is May 5th of 2025, which is completely inaccurate. The distro has been around since 2023, but you know, can't win them all. So yeah, you know, I'm having a good experience here on KDE with NVIDIA and stuff. You know, KDE is a little less stable than GNOME, but the VRR support's way better. Window rules, man. Life on GNOME without, because I actually have an EDID issue. Linux thinks that my refresh rate range is minimum range is 24 hertz, and it's actually 48, and it's just, it causes me some VRR flicker issues. I'm not like skilled in, I'm trying to figure out how to fix it, but I've heard if you fix it, it causes problems with NVIDIA too. And it really only causes me issues in certain scenarios when I'm like doing stuff and it tries to apply VRR to stuff that's too low a refresh rate and causes bad flickering on my display. And on KDE, it's a non-issue because I just, like on GNOME, I was setting up like keyboard shortcuts to trigger VRR and everything. On KDE, I just, you know, if I have an application that tries to apply adaptive sync to something that it shouldn't, or that I don't want it to because it causes flickering and I don't need it, then simple, I just, you know, well, this isn't a good window to do it on. Go to more actions, application settings, and then, you know, I can just add a property. Adaptive sync, force, no, apply. Now that window will never try to use VRR under any circumstances. And that's just something you can't do on GNOME. You know, and then the issue I was running into with VRR on GNOME was, that caused me to try to seek an alternative option, was VRR on GNOME was just randomly not working. I was having this issue where I would run a game and it just inexplicably started too. And I don't know what the root cause was. I was never able to figure it out. I did try quite hard to figure out what was going on. Spent hours on Google going digging through forums to see if I could find anybody experiencing the exact same issue, which I seemingly couldn't. Anyway, but I was having games that would just randomly stop using VRR, and it was causing my games to just be real choppy. Like real choppy. You know, I've gotten so used to VRR and high refresh rates, and, you know, it was causing like things to just look weird, basically. So I switched to KDE because, you know, of the major desktop environments, KDE has the best VRR support, and it's been smooth sailing ever since. And it's been kind of nice because I don't have to worry about toggling VRR all the time. You know, on GNOME I was having to toggle VRR every time I wanted to watch YouTube videos because it would try to apply VRR to my YouTube video, and then with the EDID issue, it would cause my YouTube videos to flicker like crazy. So here, KDE seemingly doesn't try to put adaptive sync on a browser anyway. But even if it did, I could put in a window rule to stop it from doing it. So, you know, like I said, you know, people are like, oh, you know, people in the Discord, you know, because I always talked about how much I like GNOME, and I do like GNOME. I like GNOME a lot. I like how elegant it is and how simplistic it is versus KDE, which is kind of clustered. You know, as you can see here, I've kind of in a sense have gnomified my KDE. It's not quite gnomified in the fullest sense of the word, but it is. You know, I've got the panel functioning as a dock and hiding, and my flow is very similar to what it was on my GNOME desktop. And that's how I prefer it, you know what I mean? Like, I've got the not this here, but please tell me my shit's not about to crash. Okay, good. No, just being fucking weird. I don't know, I think I'm gonna switch back, because this is... Oh, there it goes. Ah! Reset. Yeah, see, and that's what I mean. KDE is a little less stable. It does that every once in a while. I don't really care, as long as it's not a hard crash, you know what I mean? It just does that once in a while, especially when it gets wonky. I think it's this fucking application menu shit, though. I'm gonna, like, put it on... Because ever since I switched to this, I've been having more problems. I'm gonna do simple application launcher. Get rid of that. It's like a NVIDIA bug that happens sometimes with that. Yeah. I always seem to have better luck with this one. This one's... I also like this one a little bit better anyway, so I was just trying out the simple one because it was a little smaller and I like that. But yeah, so I mean, other than a couple minor bugs with KDE, that's kind of why I'm wanting 6.3.5, because some of these NVIDIA bugs are getting there's some major NVIDIA bug squashing going on there. Yeah, so that's why I use PikaOS. That's what PikaOS is. PikaOS is a cutting-edge Debian distribution that is, you know, doing a great job. And I think more people should be aware of it. More people should use it. I think it deserves more love than it gets, and that's why I keep making videos about it. Because I want to see this distro continue to grow. You know, get more contributors, get more, that's the only way something like this stays alive. Like, right now they've got 2 main contributors and they've got a couple other people who, help out. And obviously they get some backport support from other distributions too. But, I mean, if PikaOS ever were to go under, God forbid, I would probably switch to CachyOS. That would probably be the closest one in terms of out-of-box performance, and then the next one down from that would be Nobara. But yeah, so that is all I'm going to talk about today. I'm not trying to make a fucking 2-hour long video here, so thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments if you want to see me make any other videos about anything else. I'm always trying to think of ideas. Probably my next video will be talking about some, I don't know what the hell I'm going to make my next video about. Maybe AMD versus NVIDIA. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I'll do some gameplay. That'd be cool, right? Show off what this distro can do and its primary purpose, gaming. But yeah, thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments if there's anything you'd like to see. Maybe a KDE ricing guide, or I'm by no means a massive expert, but I do know some stuff. So let me know. See you next time.